So we met in 2013 when Vincent was in Perth working for Catholic Youth Ministry in Perth. So I was attending their events and being a volunteer as well at Catholic Youth Ministry, and we became friends since 2013. So this is how we met and to meet up and thing.
Yeah, I think it was just through the ministry. Because as of course working for the youth office with a lot of youth events like young adults retreat and adoration evenings, and so she would just always be there, and she was a really really good volunteer. She would always say yes whenever I asked her to come and help out. And so that's how it really just started. Our friendship just flourished from then, definitely.
So I think for me, what attracted me first of all was the joy that came out of Vincent. Is like Vincent is like a magnet. He attracts people toward him. So it's like people feel that they are drawn to him, and that's something because he radiates of so much joy and so much life. So that's something that really attracted me to him, and also his faith, his love for Jesus, his love for the church, his love for our Blessed Mother, and how he wasn't scared to live this faith openly and to bring people, and his desire to bring more people, especially young people, to God and to help them to have this personal relationship with Jesus. So that's something that, yeah, I think that's one of the two main things that really attracted me to Vincent.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. um, for me, it was similar. I think one thing that we have in common is our faith, and I love seeing her pray. I think her desire to really pray, her desire to really serve, her commitment to the mission, um, and her love for her vocation. She's a teacher, and it really inspired me to also love my vocation because of her love for her vocation to teach her students. Um, and also, I think her love for her family. She's a very family oriented, and she's a real woman of substance, and that's what really really attracted me to her, and that's what impresses me most about her.
What you go for this one?
Well, this is quite it's quite a unique story and quite complex because we really started us out as just real good friends, hanging out and serving together through the ministry, hanging out with friends, and then suddenly it was just the two of us just hanging out all the time, going for walks. um, Eating out, that's what we love doing. That we love eating out. It's one of our favorite things to do. But there came a point when, because I'm originally from Sydney, so I had to return to Sydney for to work for CCD. So we had a conversation, and I just said to her, you know what, I'm so sorry, but I am moving back to Sydney, and I would like for you to move to Sydney as well, if you can. But I want you to pray about it and really discern about it. Um, so the conversation came on for then she started to look for a job in Sydney. And then that conversation was like, okay, now that you've made a decision to move to Sydney, I just said to her, well, you know what? Let's get married. And for me it was because I knew it was it was just that we were mature in our faith and mature in our life, and so we knew already that we were meant to be married. It was just making that decision. It was for me. I think she was just waiting for me to ask her. And so when I said to her, you know what, let's just get married, and she said yes. And for me that was it was really spontaneous, but also I felt like it was really God sent. I knew that it was going to happen, and I knew that really God was part of that decision. So we really didn't really think about marriage. We went straight into just let's get married.
So we did the Smart Loving program that was recommended by some very good friends of ours and that were our mentors as well during that process. So this was Smart Loving really opened our eyes about our values getting into marriage, and also how we need to live on those values, to bring those values into our marriage and the decisions we're making as a couple. And we also had our mentor couples that journeyed with us, that we would meet regularly every fortnight or at least twice a month, where we would be discussing about the program, about how us getting ready for marriage. And also we had the priest that celebrated our marriage, that guided us and that met with us. And so
Yeah, for me personally, because I have seen the strength in the sacrament of marriage through my parents. My parents have been married for 49 years, and I have seen the joy and they have given each other through this gift of marriage. And I wanted to definitely bring that into our marriage. And I've spoken to my parents a few times leading up to our marriage, and they have just truly given some great advice and have just really encouraged myself as their son and also as a man to really show my love and commitment and be selfless in my giving to my wife, because I've seen that in my dad also. I've seen the way my dad has truly been patient and loving towards my mom. So I wanted to replicate that. But our friends have really been encouraging as well. We have a lot of young married friends as well, or newly married couple friends, and they have really just given us some wonderful advice as well on how to be able to uh, live a marriage that's fulfilling, and live a marriage and have a marriage that is really pleasing to God.
and I think for me as well, I've got my elder sister who's been married for 24 years now. And like life for her and her husband has not been always easy, but just witnessing how they stick together, how they bring the best out of each other, this selfless love, this unconditional love, like being there when the times are really tough, and also celebrating the joy together. So this has been a great inspiration as well for me.
Definitely, a gift is our faith. If there's anything that keeps us together as a couple, it's really our faith in God and our love for prayer. And we truly believe that it's as cliche as it sounds, that we really try to remember to have God as a center of our relationship. And it's not easy, it's hard to remain faithful in terms of our prayer life, in terms of things like that with God. But we try, at least we try our best to remind one another. Sometimes I forget to pray, and she would remind me, and she would like, come on, we need to pray together. I need that. I need someone to be able to just remind me about the importance of my faith, and that's what we're together. I love the fact that there's real strength in making each other laugh. Uh, she makes me laugh in the weirdest and the funniest way she can be, like the things that she does. Um, I think that's one of the things that I love about this. That's a real strength to be able to make each other laugh. I'm sure I make her laugh as well in the way that I can. But the joy, really, I think that's a real strength in our marriage. Is it, it it's not happiness; it's real joy, because we've made the decision to be in this marriage. We made a decision to be with each other and commit to this. So yeah.
And I think as well that we really value communication between the two of us, and that's a great strength. And even during the marriage course as well, we've learned how to be vulnerable.
Mm.
And some people can find vulnerability as a weakness, but it's a real strength to let the other person be part of your weakness and to grow together in this. So I think that's a real strength as well of our marriage.
Oh wow, there's so many. I think number one, I think expectations, and I think that going into marriage, there's a lot of expectations that we have of the marriage itself, but also of each other, and sometimes that's not met. It's only because we've grown up differently. We have different values and sometimes different beliefs and different ways of doing things. and sometimes it's kind of hard to adjust. Um, Living together, like for the like just being together in the same household, especially throughout this pandemic, it can really challenge your relationship. It can really challenge your commitment towards one another, and I think that was it. Really, the expectations that we have of each other and trying to meet those expectations uh, has been a real challenge for the both of us.
Yeah, I can confirm
Is
that.
there any challenge that we have?
We thought it would be harder than that because of what people tell you and things like that. But in the end, yeah, there are the expectations and there's all this. But when we think about it's about the other and not about yourself, and when you go past this, it makes it easier. And of course, when you bring God into the relationship, it's we've been married for 4 months only, so it's kind of. I'm sure there would be other challenges of other.
But for me, it's the funny things, like the way I like to do things and the way she likes to do things. Sometimes I'm like, oh, can you do it this way? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need to understand that she does it the way she knows how to do it. I'm a bit of a neat freak, so I like to be organized and everything has to be like in order in the house. And she I'm not saying she's messy, she's neat as well, but it's not just the
That way.
way I like things at home. And so I had to adjust to that, and I had to kind of like, wait a minute, I this is not just my home, it is now our home. So I need to be able to understand where she's coming from and understand that she does things differently. But for me, that was really, really hard. And I think and I expressed that to her and say, oh my goodness, can we do it this way? Because I'm really struggling.
And I think also that point is that I've lived by myself for 10 years before getting married, and Vincent has been living by himself as well for a long time. So we add our own way, and just like after all that time, having to adjust to those little things, it's kind. Sometimes it must be very petty, but we can. It's hard, but we work for it. I think it's at the center of our married life. We really value our faith and we really value the Catholic faith. And it was also not just during our married life, but also while we were discerning about marriage, while when we decided to get married, one thing that we would do is we would attend adoration regularly, both of us, and we'll take that time to go and spend time to pray together. And when we get and then after that, last year when we were engaged, we will try to go to daily mass together if we could. And we pray together in the morning, we pray together before going to bed, and we attend online retreats together during the weekend during lockdown. So we really value our faith, and it's at the center of our married life.
Yeah, and I think that's only because it's been embedded in us with our families as well, and our families. Growing up in a Filipino background, my parents have always instilled the faith, and it's the wonderful legacy that they have left in us as a couple. And I think that's why we value the faith so much, and I think it really helps us to really center our relationship. And sometimes when we come into a disagreement or an argument, we kind of like, oh, let's stop, let's just pray, let's really think about this before it gets further. And I like the fact that we can just pause and reflect on the word of God and really think and really pray before things get out of hand. And I'm really, yeah, for me, our faith is number one. Like, one thing I love doing with her is going to mass. It sounds weird, but I do love going to mass with my wife. Even like you said, even before we were just friends, we would do that. We go to adoration, we go receive the sacrament, and we would definitely uh, value the faith already. And that's the reason why I was attracted to her, because I knew I needed someone to help me grow in my faith more and bring me to heaven eventually, right? To lead me to Jesus Christ. So I needed someone like that, and I think that's why we needed to value our faith, because I want to also bring her to heaven with me. I think that marriage is actually not as difficult as we thought it would be, you know? And I think a lot of people have also shared their issues and the challenges of marriage. I mean, like, we are still new in our marriage, we may be able to face them. But I know for a fact that we've been prepared, we're ready to be able to face those challenges. Yes, it is difficult adjusting to each other, and that's we already said that. Um, but we love being married, and that's something that I didn't think that I knew I would love it, but not this much. Like, I love being able to be with someone, because I have been single for a very long time, you know, and I thought that's the life that I wanted to be in. But I guess God had other plans and brought me someone, and I thought it would be really, really hard. But really, once you've made a decision and once God has planted you in that decision, you know, only joy comes with it, you know. So yeah, so in terms of being foreseeing what could happen, this is it. This is a we're just looking forward to what's coming, and we're preparing ourselves for what to come as well. We're just blessed that we are um, guided by some good people. We're surrounded by good couples who have strength in their marriage. I think that's important. In like our parents and our friends who are there for us. We have good role models in that sense, so we are able to see what marriage can be like. Yeah.
And I think we didn't like foresee how much fun we would have together. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, it's like at first you're like, okay, there's these expectations, and when you go past that, there's so much fun and so much joy, like Vincent said.
Yeah, I think it's just like you said, it was
Yeah,
more organic. It
yeah.
just you just let it happen. You know, you don't
Mm.
expect things to happen, you don't plan things, you know, you just let it. Yeah, I think there's some joy in just letting it happen and waiting things to happen, and just allowing God to work in your marriage. And it's been amazing. Like, marriage is wonderful, really is.
I think one for me, my piece of advice would be to really value the preparation before marriage. It's this time of preparation, this time of engagement, and to really take time to be with that person. Because sometimes when we would look at the program and it's, oh, it's long, it's 2 hours and things like that. But sometimes we would just go over these 2 to 3 hours because it's really valuable to, because this is where you really learn how to be vulnerable and to share about yourself, to be open to the others and to receive what they have to tell you, and to know that this is for the journey that is awaiting us. So really to treasure this time of preparation, because it's really fundamental to how you're going to build your marriage, and to take and to give it time, to not rush it, to not see it as a requirement for the church to get married, but really as a foundation for what is going to happen within your married life. And also to allow the people to share their experiences with you, to journey with your priest, to journey with a mentor couple, to have people to journey with you during this time. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good advice message. It's like, um, you're never alone. You're not alone in this journey. My advice is to journey with other people. There's a lot of wealth of experience and wisdom out there, and there's some good programs that are offered by the church, by the Catholic Church, and I think it's important to take that on. But also for me, it's about the selfless love. Like, I love the definition of Pope John Paul, or Saint John Paul the Great. It's love is about the will to will the good of the other person, and I think that's something that we have held on in this relationship. And for me, that's my advice for couples: is to really not think about yourself, but think about the other person. and how you can serve them and how you can build each other up, and how important it is to really communicate your love for one another, like to encourage and to affirm each other of that love. Yes, there will be arguments, there will be disagreements, but at the end of the day, you know what the real meaning of your marriage is, and that again, firstly, puts God in the center of your marriage. Put God in the center, pray together as a couple.
Yeah,
And
take this time to pray and to communicate and yeah, value this.
one of the things that I love most about the marriage prep that we did was really that helped us is really knowing what the other person values, because that can really help you in your communication, because we value things that are different, and to be able to know what she values, it has helped me to truly understand her as a person and as a being and as a woman and as my wife. So to be able to do that, to understand that is really key to the relationship.